Hello everyone and welcome back to what is going to be, hopefully, can't promise anything, but it certainly looks like it. It's going to be our last online Saturday clinic. So we are going to be good to go next Saturday, that's June 6th. Got a lot of emails from your parents that you guys are going to be able to make it next week, which I can't wait to see. For those of you who are planning to make it that haven't sent me an email, make sure that you do have your parents send me an email and confirm that you're going to be there. We're right on the cusp of having too many where I would need to bring in another coach to be able to do it per the county rules. So make sure that you guys do. If you guys plan on attending, talk to your parents today. Make sure that they have sent me an email. I'll send an email out this afternoon confirming everybody that has signed up so far and also some of the new rules. So we'll get to all that in the email and I'll make sure that goes to your parents so you guys know too. And then, where we're going to meet and all sorts of different good stuff. So we'll do some slight changes, but overall, hopefully everybody's excited to get back out on the golf course, hit some golf shots if you haven't been doing that already. So what I figured today, because I do have something that I want to give you guys, I'm hoping that they all get here this week and they'll be here by Saturday. I've been told that they will be, but I can't promise you anything again. I don't want you guys all mad at me if they don't get here, but I'll certainly be here by the week after, okay, which will be 13th, Saturday the 13th. And what I do need for you guys to get that is for you guys to send in the quiz questions that I've sent with this link to this video. Okay, there's going to be, I'll probably do 10 to 15 questions on it. Today's video is going to be giving you all the answers, so there's no excuses. You don't have to look them up. All you have to do is watch this video. You can pause it, have it next to you while you're watching the video. It'll be a good thing for you to be able to do today because it does look like it's going to rain a little bit this afternoon. And it's actually raining a little bit right now as I can hear it start to come down. So something for you guys to do indoors. I promise you guys will like this and that you guys are going to want it. If you don't send me that video, I got to hold on to it until you do, or excuse me, if you don't send me the answers, I got to hold on to your little prize there until I do get the answers from you. So don't be the only ones. Make sure that you do send that to me. So again, we're going to go over pretty much everything that we've talked about in all these videos. We've done about 6 of them. We're going to talk about grip. We're going to talk about alignment. We're going to talk a little bit of chipping, a little bit of pitching, a little bit of in-swing, and then anything else that we've discussed so far. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so first thing I want to talk to you guys about today, or remind you guys of, because we've already done a clinic on it. I think this was the first one when I was off property. I had a little bit better background than my little condo here. But we're going to talk about grip, okay? So as a right-handed golfer, and just reverse everything if you guys are lefty. Again, I'm pretty sure we got all righties out here. But if you're not in the class and watching this, this is obviously reverse if you're a left-handed golfer. So what the two things I want you to really remember and what I want locked into your head is lock with the left hand, okay, and cover with the right, okay? So we're going to talk about lock and cover. That's going to be on the little quiz that I give you guys, okay? Those are the two terms that I want you to remember. Now, what do those mean? If you watch the first video, you'll remember. When we grip it with the left hand, we're going to go through the fingers, right? We never want to grab it in the palm like that. We don't want the grip going through the palm. We want it going through the fingers that way. Now, when we wrap this over and we lock it in, the lock is this little part, this little mushy part at the bottom of your hand. If you run it right there, there's a little mushy part right on the bottom of your left hand there, or your left palm. That's going to go right on top of the club, okay? You can see I kind of smush it on there. We're going to grab it with the fingers, and as you can see, we've locked it in. We have that little mushy part on top of the club, or from this view underneath. I can hold it with just one finger, right? So we're going to lock it there. We're going to go right in that little mushy part, hold it in the fingertips, and we're going to wrap that left hand over the club. Your left hand thumb is going to be slightly on the right hand side of the grip. So again, left hand thumb, right side of the grip, and there's no space in between your thumb and your index finger. Those two fingers right there, when that holds on, there's no space. I don't want to see, one of the big things I see with kids grabbing the club, and even some adults, they have a lot of space in between those two fingers, right? We want to close that gap, just like there was webbing in between those two fingers, like we were a duck, right? Now, when we put the right hand on, that's the lock. We're locking it with that kind of, I'll call it the heel pad there of your palm. No space in between the fingers. Now, when we grip it, there's 3 different types of grip. Bonus point if you can tell me what I am doing. A little hint there. We're going to cover that thumb with our right hand. Again, in the fingertips, you can see it's not going through my palms, in the fingertips, and we're going to cover up that left-hand thumb. Now the right-hand thumb, and this is going to sound confusing, the right-hand thumb is slightly on the left side of the grip, okay? So left thumb on the right side, right thumb on the left side, because we need to cover that up, all right? Now I'll show you guys again, there's 3 different types of grips, right? For those of you who didn't get it, I'm using an interlock, all right, used by Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, a couple other guys. There is an overlap grip, which is a big, big favorite for guys on tour right now and in the past. Also call it the Varden grip. Bonus question, if you can tell me Mr. Varden's first name, that might be on the question or on the quiz as a bonus question. That's overlap, okay? So we've got interlock, overlap, and then we've got 10-finger or baseball, and that's pretty self-explanatory just because we have all 10 fingers on the club, right? When we interlock it, we don't really have these 2 fingers on the club. They're more wrapped around each other than they are the grip of the club, okay? So those are the 3 different types of grips, no matter which one you're using. And again, if you guys have any questions, we're going to be back together next week so we can go through it one-on-one and see which one's best for you. It's going to really change what you're able to do with the club face, how much you're going to be able to rotate this, how much you're going to be able to hinge your wrists. It changes a ton, and it's one of the, if not the most important things to get right and be consistent with when you're starting up on golf, okay? So that's grip, and next up we will talk about alignment. For alignment, you can see I've got 2 yellow sticks here. I'm not sure if you guys can see that one on the screen, but just ignore this 3rd one if you need to. That's just for me for making this video. Got two alignment sticks, right? Now we've got a golf ball here, and I've got my feet lined up to here. So first thing is going to be what's the name of these 2 lines, right? What's the name of this one? What's the name of this one? For those of you who don't remember, this one was pretty easy. Hopefully you guys do, but it's easy to forget too. Toe line, right where my toes are going, okay? And that's going to aim parallel left of my target. Now you can see these 2 alignment sticks, okay? I want you guys to think about it. Where am I lined up right now? Am I lined up at my little table here, or am I lined up at the base of my golf bag back there? Where is my target? Okay, and if we were to extend those lines all the way out to space, if we were out on a golf course or on a driving range, what would my target be? Would it be going on a line with my target line or on my toe line? Obviously the answer is within the question there. My target line is where my target is. Okay, so toe line is going to be parallel left of that. If I were hitting a golf ball right now, I'd want the golf ball to be going right through that little night table right there, a little small table next to my couch. So as I set up to it here, and here, I want other things parallel as well, right? I want my toe line, I want my knees, I want my hips, I want my shoulders, and then I also want my eye line. I don't want you to set up this way. If I have my eyes tilted this way, that's going to bring my shoulders tilted that way, and we're going to be getting ourselves in trouble right off the bat. So we've got 2 really important things right off the bat that we need to get right. We've got to be able to grip the club properly, and that's going to help us swing properly, okay? If we have a weird grip, or if we're holding it too far underneath, or if our fingers are separated, or if we're in the palms, that's going to affect everything that happens throughout the entire golf swing. So if we can get that right, check it off the list. Hopefully it's something you don't have to worry about. But a bad grip right at the beginning is going to be really, really troublesome as you try and get better and better. Might help you hit it a little bit better right now, something that feels more comfortable. But in order to get better and to have a higher upside and be able to improve to as good of a golfer as you possibly can, we got to have a good grip. And then we also need to know about alignment and how it affects what the golf ball is going to do, right? If I set up to this one and my toe line is way right, let's assume that I want, the flag's on a line right through that little table there. If I set up and my feet are way right, or my knees, or my shoulders, my swing is going to want to go out that way. So then we would have to do something with the club face to get it to go back. And you can see how those, manipulations or fixes that we have to do can quickly pile up on each other and make it very, very difficult to hit the golf ball consistently. So as I just showed you on that one, the kind of pitfalls or the trouble with aiming too far right, there's a couple different things that's going to happen, right? In order to be able to hit the golf ball straight, we're going to want to swing this way, right? And then we're going to swing straight out that way, which is a good path, but that ball is going to end up right of our target. So we got 2 different ways of doing it. One is to close the club face and bring and curve the ball back, right? That's one way, and that's a good way for you guys to realize how we hit a draw or how we hit a hook when we do need to curve the ball from right to left as a right-handed golfer, that's one of the ways we do it. We need to have some club face rotation, right? We need that club face slightly closed or pointed left of the path that we're swinging on, okay? So not to get too confusing with that, but that's how we curve the golf ball back, is with the club face rotation and closing the club face. Now, the other way to do it, and how most people do it, is they start changing it with their path. Because when they see that big hook, it's pretty hard to control, and it usually doesn't hold the green, it doesn't stop on the green, so it rolls out a lot. Goes a long way, which is good for a tee shot, but not necessarily with the irons if you're hitting this big old draw, okay? So the other way, and how most people do it, is they change the path of the club. And they start getting the club to swing outside in, so you can see it's coming outside of that line there, my target line, and then I've got to pull my hands in. That's a common mistake, and it's almost just a deal breaker for good golfers. Very few very, very good golfers have that swing path where that club's coming way out that way away from us, okay? Most good golfers are coming from in here. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule, and anybody else watching this is going to rattle off some guys, but again, it's a very, very small portion of the population on the PGA Tour that have that path, okay? Now, the other mistake that other people do is they aim a little too far left, right? We can either aim, some variation of left of the target, we can aim right of the target, we can aim at the target. The closer we get to at the target, the better, obviously. Now, when we aim left, again, there's a good mistake and a bad mistake from here. If we swing outside in or down our toe line or where our body wants to swing, that ball is going to start off left. It's usually going to end up left unless we make a manipulation, unless we leave the club face open. Now, hopefully what most people would do here is get the path to swing even more in this way. It's a little bit harder to do, but it's a better way of doing it. And why I prefer guys to aim a little too far left with their irons than too far right. I'd rather have you on that side of kind of making a mistake if we're not going to aim perfectly right at it. Obviously, the goal is going to be aim very, very close to it. Small mistakes are okay. We just want to make sure and be aware of what the big ones do. So when we set up to it here, now all of a sudden my club wants to swing towards the target on the circle, on a slanted circle. We call it an inclined plane. Okay, that's going to end up helping to start the ball on target. If it starts on target, then we don't need to manipulate the club face. It's one less thing we need to time, and it's going to help with our consistency. So again, aim, very, very important. Grip and aim, those are the two things that I'm going to hit you hardest on once we get back to work. So I want you guys to be as close to perfect as possible and know all these tricky little answers that I'm going to put on the test for you later and that I just talked about right now. Okay? Okay, straight into our next recap is going to be chipping. We've got 3 golf balls set up here, blue one, red one, orange one. Real quick through this one, because this is going to end up being probably too long of a video for you guys. When I set up to the blue one, one of the most important things with chipping and how we're going to teach you guys how to chip is ball position. Okay, when you want to hit a low one, you need to have the ball position helping you hit a low one. We don't want to try and hit a low one from that ball position in the front from the orange golf ball, because what that does is it makes us lean even further. If we want to hit it low with this club, no matter what the loft is, we need to come back into the golf ball with less loft, right? As I take loft off of this by moving it forward, you can see what happens to the grip of the club. That moves forward, right? If the ball was right here where my fist is, this is going to go higher than this, okay? So if we've got to have the handle in front like that or leaning towards the target in order to hit a low one, we want to play it back in our stance to help us do that. If we play it forward in our stance or even middle of our stance, we got to really lean forward, and you can see how awkward that looks opposed to standing there this way. A lot more comfortable, okay? It's a little bit different. It's going to feel odd, but I want you guys to make sure we play the low shots off our back foot, the medium shots right in the middle of our stance, and the high shots in the front of our stance. And you can see my hands don't move too much, right? That's the low one. That's the medium one. That's the high one, okay? So hands didn't move. My weight didn't change a whole lot. It will gradually throughout those 3 shots just because of where we play the golf ball and the difficulty in kind of keeping our balance and making sure we're still hitting down on it. But I want you guys to trust that we stay in basically the same position, and the motion the club makes is the same also. When you guys are making these different motions, I want you guys to really focus on your hands and your wrists and what position they're in. We don't want to end up here where this is relatively flat on the back of my left hand. We don't want to come into it and have it cupped now, or have a bent left wrist when we hit the golf ball. That's going to be inconsistent. We went from having very little loft on the club, planning on a low shot, to coming back and actually hitting it with more loft. We're not going to get the result that we planned for, okay? So keeping the wrists the same, whether it's playing the ball back in your stance, whether it's playing in the middle, as we move it forward, this is called a cup in your left wrist, okay? When you're cupping your left wrist right there, that adds loft. When we bend it this way, or bow it, that takes off loft. So this is a low shot, that is a high shot. And we maintain that wrist angle throughout the entire motion to keep consistency. All right, if we set up to it to play a low one, we want to make sure we come back to the golf ball to play a low one. Okay, so changes in the actual motion, they're small, but as you can see, a low one is going to be right here, pretty much 60-40 on the weight, 60% of my weight on the left foot. It stays there. Okay, and we want to think about the left wrist, right wrist, and then head position. Those are the only things. And then all we're going to do is turn back and through. Okay, so if we can maintain those positions, keep the weight forward, keep the head forward, don't let it fall back, and don't try and help it up. You're going to be very, very consistent with the low one. That's the basic chip. We're going to use probably low chips with different clubs 6 out of 10 times, okay? So the majority of your short game shots around the green are going to be low, okay? So probably 6 out of 10, 60%. Now, once we get to those other ones, it's probably 2% of, or 20% of the other two. Once we get to the medium one, okay, setup looks similar, right? On the low one, when we played it back, we had our feet aimed a little left of the target. The most important part of setting up to that low one, having the club face aimed where we want the ball to go, and having our shoulders aimed where we want the golf ball to go, or just left of it, okay? So we don't want to set up everything to the left where we're leaning way left this way. We're not going to lean everything to the left. We're just going to line up our feet to the left. You can see my shoulders and my hips are pretty square, back and through, okay? So once we get to the medium one, similar stance, but we're not going to aim left. Or too far left. We're going to aim just barely parallel left of our target. We're going to set the ball middle of our stance, still leaning about 60-40. Now you can see the golf shaft, my left wrist a little bit more cupped, right? We're getting past, this was flat, now it's starting to cup as we move the ball forward, and we're going to maintain that wrist angle. We're still keeping our head forward. Right now we should be playing the golf ball pretty much on our nose or our right ear, and we're going to do the same motion, keeping our head forward. Don't let it rock back with you as you swing back. It's going to be a lot of weight stays on that front foot, that lead foot. Right-handed golfers, that's your left foot, stays there the entire time, and our head stays forward with it. That's going to make sure that we get good contact with the club, or with the ball, excuse me. Okay, and then if we get to the high one, this is where we get a little different. We're going to have a wider stance. Maybe we're 70-30 now on that front foot. We're going to open the club face a little bit, and we're going to really lean forward. Hands are still in the same position, okay? We've got our hands in the middle of our stance, but our head is still very much forward, because the tricky part is we want to be able to hit down on it with a lot of loft, okay? Do not try and help this up. The more we swing up on it this way, the lower the golf ball goes. So if we can set up to it, little open club face, aim left, hands are behind the club head, grip is behind the club head, back and through, we can hit really short, simple shots that go way up in the air. Hopefully you saw kind of the trajectory of that ball going off the screen. Goes a lot higher with just a very, very short swing. Opening the club face, giving loft, right? Remember, that gives it the stated loft, what's on the bottom of your club, okay? The more we lean it forward, that takes loft off. The more we lean it back, that adds loft, okay? And we gotta maintain that angle. If we're gonna set up to it for a high one, with our hands back here and the club face way open, it does us no good to set up that way if we come back in the opposite position. We've got to come back in, same as setup, with that left wrist still cupped. Okay, so that's low, medium, high. Important parts, ball position. Okay, here's your little cliff notes for the quiz. Ball position, low, medium, high, back, middle, front. Where your feet are lined up. For the low one, we're going to aim a little bit more left with our feet, but our shoulders, our eye line, and the club face are all going into the target as we normally would. Target line, and then something parallel left of that, which would be our shoulders and our eye line. And then once we move up to medium, straighten everything out. Now our toes join everything else that's parallel left. They're not left of that. And we set up to it, middle of our stance. As far as in swing, or finish it up with the high one. High one's gonna be a little wider stance, a little bit more weight forward, keeping the head forward, and then in swing, those are the important parts. So if we're hitting a medium, we're gonna have ball middle of our stance just like this. We're gonna have 60-40 on the front foot, and what we're gonna try and do is maintain that left wrist angle. Again, this is just a medium trajectory. Shaft's just leaning slightly forward. We're gonna keep the weight forward, we're gonna keep the head forward, we're gonna turn our chest back. You can see that wrist even there, still in that same angle. As we come through, same angle, and then as we turn through, that maintains all the way through, okay? So the in-swing stuff is keeping the wrists very, very stable. It's even okay if you have a little bit more tension in your arms, okay? That attaches everything. If you're real tight this way, obviously you can do it too much. We don't want to be real stiff that way, but if you're a little bit tighter and even gripping the club a little bit tighter, that's going to make everything move together a little bit more. When you get real loose, it's real easy just to move the arms or the club head or the wrist or anything like that. If we can just tighten everything up, tighten up your core a little bit, even your arms, your shoulders, just a little bit. I don't want you guys out there looking like you're flexing for a bodybuilding competition. I want you guys just to be a little bit tighter and hold the club a little bit tighter if you like. And that can help for some, and we'll take a look at it next week. Okay, so medium shot, leaning forward, everything's square, feet, knees, shoulders, eye line, everything's parallel left, club face aimed right at our target, keeping the head forward, leaning left, turn back, turn through. And we should be pretty good, okay? That's the brief overview of chipping. We're gonna go through a lot more, but there's a lot of answers there, so pause it as you go through. Make sure you get the answers right, and make sure you do email me this question back. All right, just 2 parts left, guys. We're gonna go through a really, really brief portion of pitching, and then we're gonna go through maybe a little bit longer one on full swing, because I do want you guys to remember where the club's supposed to be. And really, we just worked on backswing, and that's what I wanna focus on here, just the overview. So pitching, difference between chipping and pitching, you're gonna wanna know that, okay? Chipping is gonna spend less time in the air, more time on the ground. That's obviously sounds like a test question, is certainly gonna be one. Pitching is gonna spend more time in the air and less time on the ground, okay? So just think of a pitching shot is gonna be a lot higher, and then it's just gonna roll out a little bit. Chip shot's just gonna fly a little bit and then roll out quite a bit, okay? So chipping, mostly, you know, you can still play a high chip shot, and we'll use that as we get closer and closer to the green. Just because we don't want to take a long swing. We don't want to, you know, when we're pitching, we have to extend the swing a little bit because we want to add some height and we want to add some speed. So it's difficult to create a lot of speed from the chipping motion if we're just going like that. If that's a chip, there's only so much speed we can create. The easiest way to add speed to that is going to be to start to hinge our wrists, right? That's when we start walking into or talking about having to pitch the golf ball. These are longer shots. These are probably 20 yards and further away from the green. When you're close to the green, and I'll show you the way to do it, you're always going to be able to hit a chip. You're going to be able to hit that short motion. If it's just 10 yards, you can open the club face a little bit, lean left, hit that high chip. Just that simple. It's going to pop the ball way up in the air. We don't need to do anything more than that. Once we get a little bit further, and like I said, we need to hit the ball further, we got to add some power to it, and that's where the wrists come in. So when you guys are hitting the longer pitch shots, again, we're basically going to focus on 2 right now, or as we get into it. For the advanced players, we'll start working a little bit more on the high ones. For the low pitch, again, when you hear that word low, that should cue where we're going to play the golf ball, right? We're going to play a low shot off the back foot. We're going to have our head forward. We're going to play the golf ball right off our right ear. Now, as we take it back, I want you guys to think about hinging the wrists a lot more, okay? We're going to hinge it pretty much right off the bat. And as we turn back, you can see my shoulders have turned. The club is hinged. I'm at 90 degrees right there. Possible test question. Now, as I come back down, the big key for you guys is what's it going to look like on this side. Once you've swung through the golf ball, what does your position here on a pitch shot look like? Does it look like this? Is that good or bad? Does it look like this? Or does it look like this? Okay, we want it somewhere between here and there. You can see there's a straight line with my left arm and the golf shaft right now. That's your goal, okay? And you'll hear me talk about that a lot when you finish your pitching motion. If we Set up to it here, we're aiming left because the ball's back. The ball's back because we want to hit it low, and we're hinging it because we need to create speed and hit a little further. So we're going to keep our head forward, keep our weight forward, hinge it, and when we get to this position right here, I want the shaft and the club or left arm in a straight line. That's the key to pitching. Now, if we need to hit it a little bit higher, guess where we go? We go middle of our stance. Same motion. Don't aim left with the feet, okay? They're gonna aim just parallel left of the feet, I should say, or the target line, I should say. And as we set up to it, now we've got a little bit more loft on there, still leaning forward. Everything sounds pretty familiar, right? This is why we talk about this right after chipping. Now we're gonna hinge it up again, and then as we swing through, we're still gonna get into that same position, okay? This is still, we're getting back to where it started, and we're maintaining that loft all the way through. So from impact on, no flipping. I don't want to see anybody finishing like this. And I don't want to see anybody taking the club way back here and finishing right here. That doesn't match up, okay? So we need to match up how far we take it back here. You can see where my hands are, about hip high. And then when we get to right here, about hip high on the other side, right? We can match those two sides. We're going to be very, very consistent in how far we hit the golf ball, controlling the loft with the club face, how high it goes. All those are big, big parts of being successful in the short game, chipping and pitching. All right, guys and girls, well, this is the last portion of our online clinic. So one of my favorite things to talk about, and one of the things that I want you guys really to start to understand. You don't need to comprehend it or to understand it completely right now. I just want you guys to be aware of it as you get a little bit older and we go through more and more of this stuff. It'll make more sense to you. But right now, just want you guys working on a couple different positions and really working on the backswing right now, or at least be aware of where I want you guys to be in the backswing. So when we set up to it, again, we got our target line, we got our toe line. What I've done here is just to move my toe line or the alignment stick on the ground behind me, right? Because we all know that checkpoint, hopefully you do. Get the golf ball back there. Now, when we set up to it here, head slightly behind the golf ball, feet, knees, hips, shoulders, everything parallel left of the target. Now, as we take it back, we're going to get to position one, right here, where that club shaft is right on top of an extension of my toe line. Then we're going to hinge it, okay? And when we hinge it, it's at an angle. Now the butt of the grip, if we were to get a laser beam coming out of the bottom of that grip, would be pointed out at my target line. As we turn back, shoulders back, there we go. That's checkpoint, we'll call it 3. And then on the way down, the only thing we're thinking about is swinging out towards the right. If this was here and I didn't like this couch, I would swing right through it. Okay, we'll do it slow one more time. So here, hinge it, turn, and then swing right into that couch. I want you guys over-exaggerating that move, okay? So those are the only things. Checkpoint 1, setup and everything we'll look at. Hopefully you guys get a good idea of where we want everything aimed in order to make it go to the target with a good swing. Otherwise we can make a good swing and get a bad result. When we set up to it here, we're gonna go checkpoint 1, right on top of our toe line, hinge at 90 degrees, but at an angle. Most of you guys have a tendency to do this, hinge it straight up, instead of at a slight angle there. Then we're gonna turn our shoulders, let the hands and the club come down, and swing out towards the right, for right-handed golfers, of course, okay? Can't tell you guys how much, or how excited I am to get back to it next Saturday. It's gonna be a blast to actually be able to do this. Hear you guys' voices, obviously gonna be some new safety precautions that I need you guys to respect and pay attention to. I know you guys will be excited to get outdoors and hang out with your friends, but we gotta be safe too. So look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday. Shoot me an email. Make sure you send me the answers to this quiz that I attached with it. You guys just email it back to me. If you want to fill it out and bring it to me next Saturday, if you guys are gonna be there, that's fine too. I just need it before next Saturday, all right? Otherwise, I gotta hold on to these cool little prizes again. All right, take care everybody. See you soon.